In the last year alone, I've reviewed way over 100 coaching funnels, and in this video today, I want to go over the top 5 things that I have learned that you can take away and implement yourself that you wouldn't usually hear people talk about on YouTube or on Instagram or on any other social platforms like TikTok. I've spent hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars to learn what I'm going to break down in this video today, so make sure to stick around. And just in case you don't actually believe that I've reviewed over 100 coaching funnels, let me just quickly zoom out on this Miro right here. As you see, it's literally lagging from how many funnels. Now, is there 100 on here? No, but I've worked with countless clients. I reviewed so many funnels without having to do a YouTube video on it. So with that said, there is definitely, confidently, more than 100 funnels right there alone. Now look, I hate those YouTubers that give you this 2, 3, 4 minute intro and then they tell you to like and subscribe and they don't cut to the chase, which is why, you know what, I'm just gonna cut straight to the chase. Tip number 1. So the first thing that I've learned is friction in a funnel is not always bad. Although pretty controversial, some people would actually argue that this is plain stupid. I would honestly say sometimes friction comes at a better cause. Only because adding that extra layer of friction in a funnel by adding in a form or adding in some type of way for, I guess, them booking in a sales call not being that accessible allows the funnel to filter out all of the time wasters and idiots who would hop on the call, not even knowing the founders or the creator's name, or just wasting the closers or the creator's time in general. Now, especially when working with my clients, this is the last thing I want to happen to them, which is why we sometimes implement more friction than we should in funnels, especially if they're coming from platforms like short form, because people are just overall not that serious. They're not as indoctrinated on the person's content, and therefore when they hop on that call, they're not exactly sold on the idea of the business model, and they're also not sold on whether they should actually get started with this right now. Also, oftentimes they don't really have that much urgency, which is adding that little bit of friction is going to filter them out and only keep the serious people till the end. An example of friction is BSM Fredo. I actually done a whole YouTube video breakdown on his funnel, but one thing is there was no VSL and it was just going straight to this form. Now, you could say that's pretty frictionless because it's straight to a form, but most people, especially after viewing a 30-second ad, aren't just going to randomly fill out a form. Now, at BSM Fredo's type of level, people are very accustomed to who he is, which is why he's able to pull this off. And I think it's very, very important you look at the market awareness before, pulling off a funnel like this. Another great example is Hudson Cosper's funnel. I've done a whole nother video breakdown on this as well, but he has an opt-in funnel where you opt in and then you go to another page where it's going to be the actual VSL, and then there is another form. So there's 2 forms. I actually made a whole video on basically making a bulletproof ads strategy or ads funnel in a whole nother video, but this is the exact same thing I spoke about. Just implementing that tiny little bit of friction across 2 different forms is going to filter out all those people who are not exactly that serious or just uneducated on why they're filling out this form in the first place. Because believe me, if you just let people book in a call, so many people will book in a call that 1, don't even know why they're booking in this call, 2, they have no clue what the hell they're even getting themselves into, and 3, they don't even know the creator's name. They're gonna hop on the call saying like, oh yeah, wait, so what is this for again? They don't even know, and you really don't want to be wasting your time with those type of leads. Now, oftentimes you'll also see like the market awareness ladder, and from TikTok, Instagram Reels, and paid ads, a lot of the leads will be like unaware or problem aware. It's very hard to get solution aware leads unless they have been nurtured over a longer period of time, but just initial leads right off of content is very much going to be unaware and problem aware, which is why I genuinely believe including friction into the funnel is not always a bad thing. Is the whole concept of funnels being that you create a frictionless process for the person to be converted? Absolutely. But do I believe sometimes adding friction is bad? No, not at all. Now, moving straight on to the second thing that I have learned, and that is that your conversions will always hinge on your content. Now, this tends to fly over a lot of people's heads, and I don't know why, but people don't stress this enough in the industry, especially when it comes to coaches, consultants. People don't speak about how important the quality of your content is in order to make conversions. Now, people speak about being good closers and having good closing rates, but I genuinely don't believe your closing rate has anything to do with how good your closing is. To some extent, yeah, but I think what's more important is the way these people were attracted and what type of people were attracted with the type of content you're posting and how they were funneled and what type of process were they taking through before hopping on that closing call. Because if that is perfect, the closer doesn't even need to be that good if the process is dialed in. If the process isn't dialed in, not having a good closer will come at a cost. Now, just to kind of show an example, I've done a whole funnel breakdown on Cardinal Mason, but it's a very, very good thing to point out. So YouTube in general is a very, very good platform. If you're not on YouTube as a coach or a consultant, you're truly missing out on some really good leads. So we usually introduce 3 layers of different types of content, especially on YouTube. This works for short form as well. So first is top of the funnel content, which is mainly just aimed for eyeballs. And this targets the unaware people. This targets pretty much everybody and their mum. Then it introduces the viewer to a problem, right? People who are completely unaware get introduced to a problem. They become problem aware. They know that their situation sucks and they need to do something about it. And overall, people just get to know him more. They get to know, like, and trust him, which is a super, super important concept to have in mind, especially when filming content and building funnels. And then there's middle of the funnel content, which is mainly just educational. This is a bit more niche, doesn't necessarily appeal to everybody, but it targets problem aware people. It targets people who already want a solution to their problem. Therefore, it's not going to target everybody and their mum. It's really going to target the people who are in some level of pain and they want to get out of it. They want to learn something. And this very much introduces the viewer to a solution. It introduces the viewer to how the solution could actually work for them. And it really just highlights that authority positioning, which I think is super important to make sales consistently. Because if you don't have that authority positioning, how is someone supposed to pay you $2, $3, $4, if not $10,000 up front if they don't see you as an authority or an expert? And last but not least, which is my favorite, and that is bottom of the funnel content. The main aim of this is to literally just convert. So it really just targets the most aware people. It targets people who already know who Cardinal Mason is. They already know what he does, and they already know that he's actually legit. And all this is really just the cherry on top. So they already know that he's legit. Now, the next thing for him to kind of handle as an objection is, okay, this has worked for Cardinal Mason, but has this worked for anybody else? And that's where the interviews come in. So usually introduce the viewer to the product. Now they know that not only can somebody to do with copyrights and help them, but it's especially Cardinal Mason that can help them, only because he has helped this lady right here, and he's helped plenty other people that are also student interviews on his YouTube channel. And all in all, this really just creates a buying window. So when someone watches one of these videos, they're already kind of set that they want to work with Cardinal Mason. They just want to affirm that in their head, which is why they watch some of these videos to kind of confirm that, all right, this guy is credible and I want to pay him money. So it does create a buying window where people are pretty much just ready to buy. And then just quickly looking at his short form as well, he has got a mix of lifestyle, music with captions, random life, and just educational content, which gets people to know, like, and trust him, which is what I mentioned earlier, very, very important. And not only that, there's also the 7-11-4 rule. Now, this is something that I go over quite often, and a lot of people really mention this, but the whole concept of this is a Google research study that was conducted to identify that in order for someone to be able to buy from you, they need to spend 7 hours engaging with your content across 11 different touch points on 4 different platforms. Now, is this a must? Absolutely not. No one has to watch 7 hours of your content to be converted. Some people have watched 20 minutes of my content. Some people have watched 12 minutes of my client's content and converted, okay? But if someone has watched 7 hours of your content, engaged across 11 different touch points, maybe on 4 different platforms, are they prepped to 100% convert unless they don't have the money? Absolutely. So that's really why the concept is there. And to further kind of prove this point on why your content is so important, let's put it in this analogy. Let's say we have this little McLaren P1 right here, okay? And we have 3 different types of fuel. We have just normal fuel, we have fuel premium, and we have fuel premium plus, okay? Now, fuel premium, if you just, gas up your car with normal fuel, you're gonna get a yield of like 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which basically just equals 1. If you do fuel premium, which I guess is like the middle option, all right? This is like the mid quality content. You're gonna get a yield of like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times, what was that? 3, 6, 7. So what, 2 times 2 to the power of 7, which equals 128. And let's say you go for the best option, the best quality content, all right, which is the Fuel Premium Plus. You put the Fuel Premium Plus into the gas tank of your McLaren P1, you're gonna get a yield of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 to the power of 7, which equals to 2,187. And that's your yield, okay? So you could just put the worst type and get 1, right? That's your output, just 1. Or you could just up the number by 1 and just increase the quality and get a yield of 128. Or you could just increase it by an extra and make it very, very good content and very valuable and get a yield of about 2,187. Now, of course, this is all metaphorical, right? I don't mean that like if you just up your content a tiny bit, you're gonna get a 128x result. I don't mean that, but this is just kind of an analogy to explain that your inputs very much matter and have a huge impact on your outputs. Now, straight onto the third thing that I I've learned, and that is that make funnels easy to go through and only have one option. There's been so many times where I have people come to me and they're like, I don't know why my funnel isn't converting so well. And you take a look at it and it's practically a website. So you go on it and it's basically this. So you have like a headline, you have the video here, you have the button here, and then you have a bunch of other things. They also have like an AI chatbot down here that keeps pinging you every couple seconds. And then in the top right, they have 1 option, 2 option, 3 option, 4 option. And then they have this little bar that if you click this, it comes down with a drop down. There's just so many options. Worst of all, you literally have people have a link tree in their bio. And when that's clicked, they give you like 13 different options to choose from. Horrible idea. The whole point of a funnel is to make it convenient and easy. How do you do that? You make it direct. Only have one direction. Okay, not the band, but I'm speaking about sales right here. You want to have a landing page. And in every single landing page, you want to have basically one direction to go to, and that is forwards. Can't go backwards, you can't go sideways, you can't go to A to F to G. You want to basically have a headline, a video, you can have a sub-headline, doesn't matter. But the main aim is that it just has one option. You can have multiple buttons, but they all have to lead to the same thing. If you have multiple different options that they can apply to work with you, and then they can also book in a call and they can watch a video, but then they can go off to your YouTube channel, it's just a whole mess. It's chaos. It causes chaos, and you really just want to guide these people. You want to hold them by the hand and take them to exactly where you want them to be. And the only way to do that is by not giving them any other option but to continue forward down your funnel. You want to funnel them down, and I truly mean it. And now quickly onto the 4th thing I've learned, and that is converting straight from short form is a bad idea. Very controversial topic. I've had many people argue saying like, oh, short form is like our main source of traffic, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly, I'm not here telling you that short form is horrible, right? I have a lot of clients who post on short form consistently and they make a ton of money. But is converting straight from short form the best way to convert? I wouldn't say so. Going back to my theory of friction in the funnel is quite good. I think converting from short form over to long form to then a funnel or a landing page makes so much more sense, because now you don't have 8 calls a day where 6 of them are idiots, but instead you have 2 free calls a day where all of them are super high qualified prospects who actually have the money to pay you. They don't have to do no payment plans. They just pay in full every single time, and they are committed to making it work in your program, which in my opinion always become the best type of students as well. They get the best results, meaning you have more case studies to flex and you just make more money overall. So next time, I wouldn't funnel straight to a landing page, especially from your Instagram bio or your TikTok bio, because of things like the Instagram browser and the TikTok browser just doesn't really look that nice. And overall, funneling them to more long form content where they have to consume more minutes of your content, and then they get converted after that because they're sold on you as a creator, they're sold on you as a coach who can actually get them to where they want to be, and they actually want to pay you money. And last but not least, I've saved the last one for best, and that is number 5. The best prospects come from platforms where they came on there to learn. Very simple concept, very like you hear this pretty much everywhere, but I think it flies over most people's heads. People go on Instagram to distract themselves. It is a distraction. When have you ever gone on Instagram to learn something? On TikTok, some people would argue they go on there to learn new things. No, it's to distract yourself. If you really wanted to learn a new recipe, if you wanted to learn how to fix your car, you would go on YouTube. And that leads to my next point. If people really want to learn about business, they go on YouTube. So what does that mean to you? Well, if you're a coach or a consultant and you want to find the best prospects, you want to find people who are actually willing to learn. They're not willing to just make money. They're not just willing to better their lives, but they're actually serious. And most importantly, they have done steps towards it before even coming to you. Meaning that if they show up to that sales call, they show up to that sales call with a game plan. They show up to that sales call already knowing that this is going to be a pitch, but they're more than happy to be pitched because they want to pay you money. Not on Instagram and TikTok on when you kind of want to financially qualify them and they hit you with the, or how much is it then? And all they do is they don't care. They just want to make money. They don't really want to learn. It's just like they want things handed to them on a silver platter, which is why I highly condone YouTube to pretty much everybody I ever speak to. YouTube has done wonders for me. It's made me a lot of money. It's made my clients a lot of money, which is why I'll always be the biggest condoner of YouTube. I think these platforms are great. I think they attract a large audience. However, which one is the best for conversions and which one will always be the backbone and the foundation of your business long term for the next 2, 3, 4 years? That will always be YouTube. But that really brings me to the end of the video. If you found these 5 things that I've actually learned fairly valuable. I'll leave a link in the description where you can book in for a business audit call with me. This is a call directly with me. We go over your business, things that you're currently struggling with, and to see whether we can genuinely fix it or not, whether that's on the call or our team actually implementing our systems. But other than that, I thank you for watching till the end. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.